Is free work ruining the industry? Cheers.
Cheers.
We are back to our incredibly warm beer.
Yes. It's like being in England, isn't it?
All right. Welcome to Photography After Hours, where we just have a casual conversation and chat about all things photography. Before we get into that, I'd like to introduce everyone and go over our sponsor. We have Sprague, Susie, Lisa Langell, and my name is Nick. So we wanted to let you know about PAC, who is Photographers Adventure Club, and what we do is photo walks, workshops, seminars, contests. I always forget one, so just read the screen and they'll all be up there. It's at photoadvclub.com, and they're so gracious to sponsor this after-hours show. So today we're talking about collapse of the photography industry, or possible collapse of the industry. Is that actually happening? And I know we always like to start with Sprague.
Point to Lisa for.
This is the cause of the collapse, Nick.
Godzilla.
Yeah. I think that what we were trying to get at is that there's a lot of people are getting into the industry now. Equipment is cheap; it's available, easier to get great results with the equipment that we have. And what's happening is that we're getting a saturation of images on the market, and everybody is very eager to get their work out and to get some recognition for it. And so they're putting their images out for free in order to get recognition, which is diluting the market and making it very difficult for professional photographers to earn a living. And probably an example is the nightly news stations using work from viewers. A lot of the newspapers now are taking photos from viewers and firing their photography staffs just to get people out like that. Additionally, the magazines have gotten, and they've been this way for a while, but they pay very little for work for their issues. Recently we were told that the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, the person who shot that got a whopping $750, which, if you decide that your goal is to be able to shoot the cover of a magazine like that, whether you think that's a prestigious magazine or not, it does have a tremendous amount of circulation, and that's not really a lot of money. And so
sure, and there's magazines locally here that are $100 or $200 that for the cover, never mind inside. So, I think what we're going to try to figure out here is where is it worth it to give stuff away for free for promotion, or is it something that we kind of want to be careful about doing? So what are your views on this?
Well, I think that, so many people that are probably watching this video want to improve their work. They want to become better at it. Some people want to make a career out of it. Others are like, hey, I'm the hobbyist. I don't really care. I have my job. There's something for everybody in photography. But I think where the problem lies is those who are trying to make a career out of it, if there's a career to be made, are competing with a large number of people who are willing to say, you know what, I have my full-time job. Here's my random image that turned out great. Or maybe they really do hone in on their work really well and are an incredible hobbyist photographer. So they'll submit things. They're like, I don't care. I'm going to give it away for free. To me, it's not the money, it's the prestige. And so they do that. And someone else is trying to make a living and might be able to shoot equally well or better. But, it's supply and demand. So you're going to have, magazines are going to say, well, I'll take your image for free over paying $20 for somebody else's image. So I think kind of understanding the cause and effect of what all this free material does to the industry, it is what it is. A free market's a free market. But I think being aware of making a career out of photography, realize that it's a lot more challenging than what it ever used to be.
Yeah, I don't think we can really stop it. It is what it is right now. People are gonna, if you don't give something away for free, someone else down the road will. So I think we have to work within that market that we're, what's going on. So Susan.
I think it has shifted significantly. The big shift really came probably 10 years ago when the quality of digital images started to rival the quality from film, and film photographers really had the market in terms of being able to charge for commercial quality images and things like that, because they had committed themselves, their time, their assets, their investments into the equipment that was necessary. And now all of that equipment, the digital equipment that rivals that quality, is much more affordable. It's within reach. And people say, they refer to digital images as basically free, because it's so, the cost per image is so nominal. You can just keep shooting until you get it right, and immediately whether you've gotten it right or not. Very different from film.
Yeah, film, they had to not only have good equipment, but have the know-how how to use it, so that you weren't just going to shoot away and hope that you got it
right
and correct after. So there was a level of skill there where the skill and equipment kind of have crossed now. So that's what a lot of the difference is.
Right. I think that in a true sense, the equipment can somewhat compensate for the skill level, because there's a lot of automation, but also just if you kind of are all over the place with your settings, eventually you're going to do it right? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So you are likely to come up with something, even if you're not the best photographer, and more people with more images doesn't necessarily bode well for the people that want to specialize and be able to just be a full-time photographer. And you touched upon the Sports Illustrated and them firing their staff, right? Didn't they just fire their staff?
That's what we just read online, is that they fired their last staff photographers like a couple weeks ago or something. So they don't actually even have any more staff photographers from what I read. I didn't read into it any more than what I saw online, which everything online is true. So
It is.
Right.
So, but it's not only the equipment and the skill, the quality level that's acceptable now kind of has dropped too. So the news stations, I'll go and bring all this gear out and shoot something with, $10,000 worth of gear and put it up on the news station for free for promotion. I know they're not selling it, it's just going up there to say, hey, here's the sunset for tonight. And then I'll get beat out by someone with a blurry cell phone picture. And I'm like, how did they even look at, whoever's looking at all these images, how did they pick that one that's blurry and out of focus and clearly an iPhone shot and everything like that? It just doesn't make sense to me. So that bar has been dropped, I think, too.
Yeah, and I think everyone's so pressed for time in their work anyway, so whoever's picking those images is probably like number 912.
An intern, an intern that's like getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
Like, just pick a picture.
Grab one and go, because, there's so many, and I think it just harkens back to the overwhelming number of images, and a couple of years ago, I entered a photography contest, which was part of another discussion we had, and I did very well, but there were over 50,000 submissions.
Wow.
And that was one where you did have to pay an entry fee. So there probably would have been 500,000 submissions if you didn't. So
we're in the wrong business.
No kidding.
Coming up next, our new photography contest. It's only $1 to enter.
That's right.
Yeah, it's $1 to enter, but we demand 1,000 photos, so you won't get any of them back.
Yeah, no kidding. But I think, I think it's like anything else. It kind of reminds me a little bit. My fiance is in the IT industry, and it reminds me of the .com boom and bust. So I wonder, are we in that boom, and is there going to be a bust where a lot of people that are trying to make money off of it fade away? Like, will we see a separation of the wheat from the chaff kind of thing?
The president or past president of Pictage, which is a place like SmugMug that hosts pictures for wedding photographers and event photographers, said that there's this very steep kind of where everyone joins. They buy a camera first, or book their first wedding usually first, then buy a camera, go out, buy Pictage, and then by the end of the year they're gone and have quit and given their other jobs away. So they do the first job and that's great, and then they get to the second job and it's hard, and then it gets harder, and then by the third job they're already like, I can't handle this, I'm quitting. So there's a very steep drop off rate of everyone that they've noticed, because they started to ask their clients like, what happened, and their clients are all photographers, so they found that a lot of people are, in the wedding industry at least, that they try it and they don't make it. It's not an easy business to make it, and there's lots of competition out there.
There was a lot of competition before it got so affordable to get in the game.
So one of the things you had mentioned was website building a website. So instead of giving it away for free, maybe building a website, either your own or SmugMug or something like that, whatever company you choose, they're all the same. It just depends on personal preference. Zenfolio, and you build this website, and the whole theory of if you build it, they will come. So what do you think about that, Sprague? We were talking about earlier. Do you think just because you build it and you put these beautiful pictures up, say you do have the quality, do you have the equipment, you have the know-how, you have the really beautiful pictures, are people just going to go and buy them?
I would say not, because again, we were talking. There's just too much of it out there. I mean, how are they going to find you? Because one of the things that they tell a new photographer when you first get into it is you've got to have a website, you've got to get everything posted out and priced. But then you just become another fish in this huge sea of people that are doing the same thing. And if there isn't anything about you that's distinguishing or anything about your work that's distinguishing, then they're not going to find you, and you're going to find yourself putting out images at $25 to $50 a piece, and maybe you'll sell 3 or 4 of them, and you'll think $200 is big fun, and then that's going to be the end of it. And
well, I put my images, so I kind of have some experience. I put my images on SmugMug. I have a membership at SmugMug, and I put my fine art images, let's define that, and my fine art images on Fine Art America. And they sell on Fine Art America, not overwhelming. I'm not bundling money, but there's money coming in. It's worth the $30 that I spend there a year, but I have yet to sell one on SmugMug, which has this. I post them at the same time, and I think it's advertising. I think, right? No one really knows the SmugMug's there.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you're one of many. Whereas at least in one of those, like I'll just call them an aggregate site, I can go, and if I need a picture of a fish in a flower, and I can Google those 2 terms or search those terms in there and find every photographer that's taken a picture of a fish in a flower. There's probably not that many, but I could find that, and I could go and pick among those. And I think it's a lot harder to build a name for yourself, and and have someone randomly come to your website unless you've done a lot of search engine optimization. And that kind of leads me to another point is, I think a lot of photographers who start out enjoying photography as a hobby. I mean, we all have at some point, you just go, I don't know what I want to do. Photography sounds good. You start out with a passion for it, and you got good at it because every time you had free time, you got to spend time shooting. And I think photographers today have to be really savvy entrepreneurs and business people first. And the photography has to be the medium in which you do the business, because your shooting time completely changes. You're not shooting 80% of the time. You're writing content, you're reading emails, you're responding to potentially business requests. You're trying to keep your social media engagement up. You're trying to, figure out how to plan your next workshop, which, you have to diversify your income. It is not going to be, for most people, just the random pretty art print that you shot. I don't care how beautiful it is. And that one other thing related to that is, you have to understand the kind of content that the average person is going to buy. You might have photographed something outrageously amazing, but if it's not going to resonate with a broader audience, you might sell a handful of those prints, and that's it at best. So,
or none.
Well, the other thing that I've seen is the most successful photographers, money-wise, generally sell through galleries. And what they do is they go out and they focus on shooting, because that's what they do best. And it's like everything else in life, you can't be good at everything. So they let somebody else handle the marketing and somebody to run the gallery. If you look at Peter Leck, for example, I mean, his images look fantastic the way that they're printed and displayed. And here you are, you're looking at a picture that's $4,000 and you want it. Whereas when you get on a website and you start paging through, everything's just the size of your thumb, and you bring it up and maybe it's this big, and it just doesn't really resonate with you. Whereas when you're standing in the gallery looking at what it's going to look like when it's actually in your house, and the curator is helping you establish a connection to the artist, then you're going to sell a lot more work.
They're strategically placed too.
Well,
they're in high-end places.
And you see that in any kind of artwork, whether it's sculpture or paintings or anything like that. That the artists are not in there selling and running businesses. They're hiring somebody else to do, because that's not their not their core competency. Their core competency is their artwork.
Well, you mentioned too about other forms of art, and I think a commonality across art, no matter whether it's photographic art or sculpture or anything, what is really compelling to a buyer isn't just the aesthetics of the piece, but maybe the story behind it, and we've talked about that too. The being able to understand where that art came from, how it came about, what caused the artist to produce it in that certain way. I mean, that's what makes a Picasso so interesting, is all of the backstory and basically the interpretation of all of that imagery. And just to bring it back to the topic that we're talking about is the saturation of the market. I think that there is plenty of opportunity there still for people to get their artwork or their vision out there and make a connection with people that want to have those pieces in their home and things like that. But that a lot of times we're focusing on just volume of getting as many photos out there to visually compete, when really it's probably more valuable for people to gain an understanding of who you are as an artist.
Exactly. And, one of the things I do when I'm posting an image, whether it's to a gallery or to Facebook or wherever, is I always frame digitally, but frame and title my image. Because to me, it's not done until a title actually comes to mind. Like, is this telling enough that it even can have a title? And if it's not, then I feel like it's just another generic print, and so, that's me, that's my style. But kind of going to your relationship building piece, in building relationships, it isn't just about lobbing your name out there and having, marketing and, blasting everybody with your name. Building relationships, it's not the cheesy car salesman kind of relationships you need to build. It's genuine relationships with people. And that takes time, that takes energy, and it takes consistency, because these people champion you, and likewise you're often championing them with their things too. And
most of the people like I meet at meetings and stuff, like, hey, we're friends on social media, they say their name, I'm like, yeah, I recognize you, I know you, have that bond already before I've ever even met them in real life. I'm like, we haven't met before? It's like you feel like you already know them, so you do have to build those. So in wrap up, is collapse happening? Is it happened? We don't know really. So we may be in the bubble, we may not be. But be weary about putting stuff out there for free too much. You can put some stuff out there. I think a website is definitely important, but you have to advertise it. Be the business person first, and get the word out there about it, or if not, just a website. So if you sit there and you market your website, then you can possibly sell stuff on it. So you got to think about it, learn a little bit about business. That's what I'm actually teaching about coming up in Chicago at one of the conferences, is all business stuff. So cool. Well, put in the comments what you think. Are we right? Are we wrong? We're usually wrong, so you can just blast us down there. But we're drinking beer, you're not, so it doesn't make a difference. So cheers.